Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is John Devine, Vice President of the Garde Arts Center located in downtown New London. Pleasure having you on the show. We work together a lot with radio, but this is the first time I'm having you on the TV show, so welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Tell me and tell everybody who has been, unfortunately, those who have not had the pleasure of visiting the Garde Arts Center, tell us about it.
The Garde Arts Center is actually at the top of State Street in New London, and it's a performing arts venue. It was built in the 1900s as a vaudeville house, and a few years ago, it was an older building and needed not a lot of work, and it was destined to maybe have a wrecking ball situation where a bunch of people got together and said, wait a minute, this is too valuable and too important to the community to let that happen. So back in the middle 80s, we hired an executive director, Steve Siegel, who's still with us today, and he was instrumental in putting together the funding and whatnot to save the building. And then back in the middle 90s, we did a complete rehab of the building, and it's pretty much the shape it's in now. And we've been fortunate. We have a bunch of different performing arts. We have from rock concerts to Broadway shows. We have a full slate of Broadway. We actually we have rentals that we rent to, like the symphony. They come in and perform there. We have the opera series. We have quite a bit of stuff, and it's a community theater too. So, local organizations, if they need the use of a building of our size, we have either available for rental or what have you.
You mentioned that on my radio show this morning. I had the organizers of a youth talent show that'll be coming in this weekend as we're taping the show, and they were very appreciative of how much support the Garde gave them. They've evolved into needing a bigger venue because they've been successful,
Sure.
and because of what they do, the downtown venue of the Garde Arts Center is the perfect location for them. And again, they're very appreciative of how much the Garde was willing to help out.
Sure, and I mean, it's set up for that kind of a show too. Where a lot of places will do like a gymnasium and they'll convert it to a thing. There's nothing like, especially young people, when they're getting involved in theater, they're getting involved. That's their Super Bowl. They get to be on a real stage with real lights and real curtains and what have you, as opposed to a makeshift situation where they're trying to make a stage or a theater out of something that it isn't. You've got all the history. You think about all the people that have played on that stage too. There's a list. I mean, Herbie Hancock, Bonnie Raitt, Greg Allman, Dickie Betts.
George Carlin, comedians.
Exactly.
Oh,
yep.
my goodness.
Bob Dylan, when we reopened, Bob Dylan came out. He sold out 2 shows. There were actually people all the way around the building, trying to buy tickets and stuff. It was amazing.
The other great thing about the downtown venue and the history of it is what you create in the community with like other businesses. There's a restaurant that it's the go-to place. There's a bar across the street that's the go-to place, and everything surrounding it it's like that is your place. You lay claim to it all.
Absolutely, and it's its own economic stimulus program. I mean, when the Garde is dark is the theatrical term, and when we don't have an event going on, I mean, these restaurants, you go there on a night when there is an event, the tables are full, and it's a real shot in the arm economically, and just the whole buzz about town. Activity breeds activity, and I know the places that are in proximity just love it, and many of the places in New London, brings people into the town.
It's also a unique venue in the sense that some of the other bigger, arenas in the area, a lot of the acts that you have performers, those places wouldn't be appropriate for it.
Right.
This is their place, right?
And, in many cases, artists, it's funny, they're entitled, they work hard for their money and they're entitled to it, but a lot of times they price themselves based on available seating. So if you have a 5,000 seat venue, they're going to price it accordingly. The onus is on you to fill the seats, not them. And in our situation, we're a 1,400 seat theater. The pricing is a little more moderate. We can bring in good acts, and and in some cases we've had acts that brought in 800 or 900 people, but because of the way the theater is configured, you can have a really intimate listening experience, and in a lot of cases, because it's a smaller venue, the artists will come out and hang out after the show. We had David Crosby and his son and Jeff Pevar and stuff one night. I mean, here's David Crosby, world-class musician. Hanging out. He came and sat on the edge of the stage and just talked to people about music and life and, rehabbing your liver and all those things.
And then he went across the street to the bar.
Yeah.
No, but that's exactly the kind of thing that would never happen in a large arena venue. It's too big. It's too impersonal.
Exactly. It's sterilized too. You don't have the upfront and personal situation. The other night we had George Thorogood there.
What a fantastic
It was a
show.
tremendous show, and we came close to selling out. And he's engaged with the whole audience. The guy is not only a performer, but he was totally involved with the audience, and you can see the people and not that there's anything wrong with some of the other venues, but
he chose this venue for a reason.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And Herbie Hancock, a world-class musician, when he came, he played our theater. And this guy's played, houses all over the world. And he was remarked how tremendous our acoustics were. And in some cases, again, and I wasn't, I love the big arenas. I love the areas nearby. You could see me at most every show. But there's a lot to be said. Some artists prefer to deal with, not compete with the type of environment, and they want to be more involved in a community venue. And again, you're looking at the difference between an 8,000 or 9,000 seat experience to a 1,400, 1,500 seat.
When the renovations were done on the Garde Art Center, was that taken into consideration as far as the acoustics? Were things like that taken into consideration about how, when we renovate, this is how we're going to do it because of that?
They did. And also, there's like an algorithm of how you build the dimensions of a building and stuff. And when that building was built, it was built pre, amplification and pre all those things. So the building was actually designed for maximum sound quality or whatever. And, the way the walls are non-parallel and stuff. If you look at some of the old great Avery Fisher Hall and some of these old great theaters and you see how the buildings were built and the stair steps, and if you look at the artwork in the ceiling and stuff, that's not just filigree. That's there for a reason. The way there's recesses and stuff to keep the they call first point reflections and stuff, how the sound carries through a building, and the way it's tapered and just for not only viewing but the way it carries the sound and stuff. It's like a big megaphone. The way
I can hear the passion in your voice, and the other person that you said has been there since like the 80s or something. The fact that you guys have been there all this time, you're so passionate about what you do and you love it, and who's going to stay at the same place that long unless they absolutely love what they're doing, love the venue, love everything that happens there.
And it's a responsibility to the community. If you don't offer this stuff, and again, years ago, I was telling you the story. Years ago, when they approached me to get involved, it was funny. The guy who was the president at the time came to me and he was asking me what I knew about the Garde Theater, and I kind of just told him. I said, it's a performing arts thing. It's and I explained to him that these places, it's easy to get people when the project starts. We want to get the building built. We want to get, and it's exciting and stuff.
Right.
But
there's a buzz about it.
Exactly. But it's the key is, how do you keep it going? How do you keep it growing? Because you've got to keep that same amount of people vested in it. And so you have a situation where you're trying to keep the community involved. And what happens is, you see, like the old Capitol Theater down on Bank Street. That's a tremendous building that just sits there doing nothing. And you had, a few years back, I guess some guy threw the city of New London a bone and offered to rehab it, and that never came to fruition, because once these buildings go away, once you lose that momentum, once you lose that buzz, it's tough to get that thing moving again. So you got to keep it going all the time. And a few years ago, everybody knows what happened to the economy. We scaled back a little bit, but we were still responsible enough to keep enough programming to keep the people going. We've got full-time employees there that need to eat. There's a lot of responsibility as far as just not what you're paying back to the community. You also have a situation where it becomes, you want the artist to kind of seek you out. We're exactly halfway between New York and Boston. So you catch a lot of these real high-level entertainers when they're going from one, Philly, Boston,
They'll make
or
a
New
stop
York.
in New London.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cruise through.
Yeah.
It's a Thursday night. It doesn't cost, the bus is going by, you unload, you do your gig.
It's right down the street, the train station,
Absolutely.
the bus station, ferries.
We've picked artists up. Cyrus Chestnut, a world-famous piano player, lives in New York. He took the train up.
Yeah, you
you
just
know,
picked them up
and
right
picked
at
them
the-
up. And
yeah.
you know, I'm like the wheel guy in house and stuff. You know, they always, because I can grab whatever car
Right.
I want from the dealership. And
Right.
like one guy, buddy guy, you know, only drives in a town car. So you know, I had to get a town car. I grabbed
Yeah.
one out of the inventory and drove and picked them up.
There was a time when the Garde was closed for a little while, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a significant amount of time where someone had to develop interest in renovating, reopening, and bringing it back to life,
Right.
basically. We'll
Right.
talk about that a little bit.
And you know, again, that was in the you know, the late '80s, early '90s, and what we did was we actually did a complete rehab on the inside of the building, reconfigured it. The Kitchings family was involved through, you know, the Kitchings Family Trust and Coca-Cola. I mean, a lot, Pfizer. There's the Pfizer mezzanine. The Renoskis from Cross Sound Ferry. A lot of prominent
A lot of local people.
Exactly. It's all good local money and very. You know, Governor Weicker, I think, was the governor back then. I mean, he gave us a little transfusion, and it was, you know, it was just building this thing and getting it back on play. Last year, I don't know if you were aware, but there's no such thing as film anymore.
Right. This is a fantastic story
Yeah.
because I want to preface it by saying that, you know, we talked a lot about the history, about the old times, about the unique artists that come into the Garde Art Center, and for the longest time, you could also watch films there, movies.
Right.
And you still can, except even the Garde Art Center, as great as it is and as old time as it is and as historic as it is, had to catch up with current technology, right?
Right.
Take it from there.
Yeah, there's no such thing as film anymore. No more acetate. Everything is digital. So we had to convert this beautiful old movie house to a state-of-the-art digital, you know, venue. And we had, as a diehard Yankee fan, it broke my heart a little bit, but we had the people from Boston Sound come down, the same people that do the sound
Man,
at Fenway.
you hate Boston.
Baked beans, Parker House rolls, you know, the whole bit. But in any event, they came down. They did a tremendous job as far as the sound and lighting and stuff and converting this thing. And we raised, I think it was almost $600,000 in less than a year. Just regular folks, $5, $10, $100.
It all went to that cause.
And it all went to that
Yeah.
cause. It was a completely separate line item as far as raising the funds to convert over to digital. And it's done, and it's world class.
How long did it take?
10 months. I
Yeah.
mean, it was less than a year, and these guys came in. You know, they had done a few buildings. Certainly, you know, part of the challenge too was like the surround sound speakers. I mean, this building was built in the 1900s. There
Yeah.
was nobody thinking about surround sound.
How did you
speakers and
find
stuff.
out one day when you were trying to book have a movie play at the Garde, and all of a sudden you realize, no, I can't? And how did it happen
Yeah.
one day?
Well, again, I mean, you know, I'm sure it was on the radar at
Yeah,
some point,
right.
and you know, we do a lot of the you know, like the Academy Awards and
Right.
stuff. So we have the summer series, and again, it's to keep the building vibrant. You know, the air conditioning's running all the time, the heat's running all the time. All these things are ongoing. So if you get people in the Garde, we have a very reasonable film pass for these different shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm sure you know, I'm sure we were tipped off way in advance. It's like
Just that
anything
you
else.
gotta
You
raise
just
the
need-
money for it,
Yeah,
too, you know?
exactly.
Good opportunity to take a break, and we will come back because I had a lot more to get to and learn about the Garde Art Center with Vice President John Devine. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay there. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy, chatting with John Devine, Vice President of the Garde Art Center, which is located in downtown New London. And I would say this is an advantage for the Garde in the sense that New London is a city that has really taken to heart its willingness to restore the whole city, downtown New London especially. A lot of activities going on during the summer, you know, with things like Sailfest. Cruise ships will dock at the New London port. There's a lot of reasons why New London can be vibrant. And you can't say that for a lot of some of the other mid to smallish or even larger cities in the area. But New London is interested in sort of revitalizing, and the Garde can take advantage of that.
Absolutely, and we have, you know, we've got a broad reach as far as, you know, we have clients come from, the other day I was telling you, we have people come from Stratford, you know, certain artists. I mean, rather than, and he was funny, he said, he said, you know, it was like an hour and a half to get here. He said he could drive half that far, but spend it in traffic trying to get into New York.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
so,
crazy.
and again, it's that personal touch with the community. We have, and you mentioned, I mean, we've got longevity in people that have been involved with the Garde, and it's a labor of love, and we have a lot of. We were talking during the break about, you know, some of the people that have played there. I mean, there are people that once they play there, they want to come back. They love the experience. They love the building, and you know, as being equidistant between Boston and New York, it just gives them a great jumping off place and kind of softens the expense of traveling around the country when they only have to travel halfway and they're going by anyway. And our draw,
Right off of 95.
exactly, right off 95. It's in a historic area. The you know, the restaurants all make out. It's a beautiful old area, and it's being rehabbed. I mean, you know, Charlotte from the Thames River Greenery. I mean, she's doing a great job in downtown, and you know, we're all participating in trying to make it a vibrant area. And if everybody kicks in a little bit, it just makes, was it the old many hands make light work? I mean, the more people you get involved, it doesn't put it all on one person or one organization to make it happen. And again, the arts is, it's not everything for everybody. We have enough variety,
Right,
that it makes it, you know, makes it vibrant. I mean, there's a lot of people that do complete subscriptions.
Right.
They just go right down the checkbox and, you know, they buy everything, and whether you go or not.
I want to talk about that because
Yeah.
I want to, because this is a lot of people think, well, you just go to an event that you want to see, which is great, and a lot of people do it. But this is also the kind of place where you can get a membership. You can subscribe on a yearly basis and really see everything you want, right?
Exactly. That's what I do. And you know, in some cases, I mean, there have been events that weren't necessarily on my radar, but I went anyway. You know, and it's, you know,
You may end up liking it, right?
exactly. God
Yeah.
forbid. You
Yeah.
know, and it's you know, it's interesting. Or in my case with business, I mean, what I'll do is I'll give my tickets to a client, let them go as my guest or whatever. And you know, I bought the seats by my mom and my dad who have passed away. I had the one armrest has my mom's name on it, one armrest has my dad's name on it, and a lot of people have done that. And you know, for $1,000 you can own the seat, and then when they have the subscriptions and stuff, you can do whatever level of membership or support you want. And you know, first and foremost is get to the Garde and you know, pick something that you'd like to see, and then again, try other stuff and broaden your horizons if you're so inclined. And
A little culture.
exactly, God
You know?
forbid.
And you know, if you may think you know, if you may think $1,000 is a lot, if you were to add up the dollar amount of each ticket for all those shows that you went to, you might be surprised at what a great deal a yearly membership would be.
Right. Well,
right?
actually, I own that seat. You still buy
Right.
the subscriptions and whatever, and there's different levels you can do. Depending on your level of interest, you can buy, you know, every show or whatever. You can also do, if you go on the website, it's www.gardearts.org.
We'll put a graphic up on the screen too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But you can look, and there's different levels like producer and star and what have you, where you know, you make a donation to the Garde and you'll get advanced ticket, emails or whatever, and you know, you'll get a certain amount of play. You'll get a better price on the tickets. You'll also get you know, first shot at available tickets and stuff.
Now, the way you described it, you own the seat, and then you can just decide on which shows to go to. It's like a personal seat license that we talk about in sports all the time.
Exactly.
Personal seat license. So when will you have a Red Sox event at your place, or will that ever happen?
Oh, if
'Cause
we can
people
raise
like
enough
me-
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If people like me want to go see
We're
that
trying to get
event.
Bernie Williams there.
Right, oh, to play. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's played at the area's
Right.
other venues around here, and he's great too.
Oh, he's
by
awesome.
the way,
Tremendous guitar player.
We had who was our pitcher that was a great musician, Red Sox pitcher.
Oh,
do you
right.
remember? Oh, Arroyo.
Yeah,
He
Bronson
played.
Arroyo.
Bronson Arroyo. He
Yeah.
played too. Yeah, a lot of talented athletes that can
These
come
guys
to the
dragging
Garde.
guitars along on the bus.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I want to talk for a moment about your other life in the car business, because that's tied into the Garde. The Valentes actually encouraged you to get involved with the Garde, right?
Right, absolutely. I've been in sales all my adult life, and pretty much when you're in a sales organization, it's kind of like they own you. You know, it's a long day, and you're supposed to be there and whatnot. And years ago, when the people from the Garde approached me because of my love for music and whatnot, they asked me if I would get involved, and I kind of like thought I'd catch Robbie Valenti at a good moment, you know, when he was just smiling, And I said,
He's always in a good mood.
no, he's in a great mood. But it was funny. I just, you've been around somebody. I've been there 17 years, and you've been around somebody long enough. You know when it's good to hit them up. And
whether for a raise or otherwise.
exactly. And I said to him, I said, geez, the guys from the Garde, approached me about getting involved on the board. I said, I know it'll mean like 2 nights. I'll have to leave early during the month, and a couple of events and everything else. He says, do it.
These guys are big into the community themselves anyway,
Absolutely.
so you had to expect that was the answer you were going to get.
You know what, though? You never know till you ask the question and stuff. It's different when, when Robbie's involved. I mean, his name is on the building.
Right.
And, if he ducks out, he's got people to do, to do what we do. So, to take a manager off the floor for however many hours during the course of the day, some dealers wouldn't let you do it. But Robbie was 110% behind it, and and was one of our major donors when we did the conversion over to digital, and he sponsored shows and what have you. And again, I mean, they're very decent, honest, hardworking people, and they're vested in the community. I mean, Robbie comes by it honestly too. I mean, his dad started it, and Robbie's Robbie's carrying the baton now. But as far as, I mean, he's involved in the Y. We're involved with this charity called Work Vessels for Veterans. Again, just good, honest stuff where, you pay it forward. And this Danny Curlin, our mutual friend down at Mystic Disc, he always says, anybody will take your money. It's, what are you going to do with it once you take it? And, a portion of it has to filter its way back into the community. And that's, that's where these guys really step up and do the right thing.
Through my radio company, we're involved a lot with Valente, not just with the the car dealerships, but with the events, the goodwill that they put out into the community. There could be an event that has nothing to do with selling cars, but they're there, and we're there with them, for them. So we appreciate it. As far as booking acts at the Garde Art Center, how do you decide? How do you go about that? I'm sure you have a staff, right?
We do, and that's pretty much Steve's forte. He goes down. There's actually like a supermarket for events down in New York every year. They have like all the available Broadway shows. They have what different events are coming up for that year. And you go down and you kind of like, there's guys down there hawking their wares. They're selling Guys and Dolls. They're selling The King and I. They're selling whatever. These are canned shows that are on tour.
There's some acts though that that may not necessarily be appropriate for your venue, maybe for like the casinos or something like that. They're going to go there, and those people probably aren't down at this event in New York anyway.
Right, and Tom Cantone at the casino, I mean, he does an awesome job, and he knows his niche, and they do a tremendous job. And and in a situation where you're comparing a performing arts center, I mean, the whole focus of the casino is they're not a performing arts venue.
Right.
They're there to bring people in to
gamble. They can go and do other things.
Exactly.
Dinner, and game, as they like to call it.
Yeah, exactly.
You might be familiar with that a little bit.
I am. I understand the concept. And the old days I walk around with a roll of quarters in my pocket.
You're the only guy I know who has a gold wampum card or whatever they're called these days.
No, they've been very good to me.
Yeah.
And again, it started out as, I mean, I love the music acts and stuff that they bring up there. And they, again, I mean, they're not doing it. They're not altruistic, but they certainly bring in the right people. I got to see Frank Sinatra. I mean, that was amazing. And when he opened up the Fox Theater, I mean, never in a life. And I was from me to the camera from Frank Sinatra. I mean, it was amazing.
That's
was
awesome.
Tremendous.
What's great? One of for a drive buyer, even if you haven't experienced the Garde Art Center, that marquee is fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big selling points to me, is to see what the act is that's coming. Or once in a while you'll advertise that your season pass is available now, but to see all those acts up there, just recently George Thorogood or whoever it is, that marquee is fantastic.
Funny story, Mark Nickerson, the local Geico guy.
And now the first selectman
in East Lyme, His wife, he turned 50 a couple of years ago, and his wife rented the Oasis room. We have a 100-seat venue upstairs. And as a surprise to him, she rented the Oasis room. He's been playing drums for 40-something years or whatever. She got like the whole cast of characters from when he was a kid.
Wow.
And all the band members and stuff they played with, she got them all together. They set up a bandstand upstairs. And he thought they were going to Tony D's for dinner. They're walking up the top of State Street, and on the marquee it said, "Happy 50th birthday, Mark Nickerson."
That's fantastic.
And she had done the whole thing. It was an awesome surprise, and it's fun to get involved in those kind of deals.
Well, that's a fantastic way to wrap up the show. I'm going to have you give out the website one more time for the Garde.
Yep, it's www.garde, Garde, arts garde.org.
And I'm sure that there's a full listing of all the events that are coming up.
Absolutely.
And how you can get involved, maybe with a membership or something like that.
And any questions, you can call me directly at the Valenti Auto Mall. I'm at Valenti Volkswagen. It's 860-536-4931. If you want, we can sit and chat and talk about music or any participation you'd like to have in the Garde.
John Devine, Vice President of the Garde Arts Center, located in downtown New London. We learned a lot. Pleasure having you on the show today.
It was a blast. Thank you.
And you can see this show and many others on our YouTube sites. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. We'll see you next time. Take care.